Hello, it's that time again, time for Penelope's Chinwag, and you're all most welcome to join me in this week's chat. I'm going to talk to you about my opinion. Do you remember last week I said, do you think that would be okay? And you all came back, yes, we'd like to hear your opinion. Well, of course, you didn't know what it was all about, and it's about wool. And yeah, I've had a good few thoughts about that. One thing leads to another. That's one of our family sayings. We were going out for a little Sunday afternoon drive, as you did in those days, and the girls were in the back, young children, and we were eating an apple. And they said, Mum, what should we do with the cores? And we were down the narrowest of country lanes. It was just, well, miles away from anywhere. It was beautiful. And we said, well, you can throw apple cores out onto the, well, actually, it was like the side of a field because the little animals will eat it. Never rubbish, of course not. So out went the apple cores. Next thing we know, dee-dah, dee-dah, we've got a police car behind us and flashing, stopping us. I mean, honestly, it was such a small road. Pete got out, stood up, and the policeman said to him, what did you just throw out? And Pete said, well, explained how we thought it was okay to throw out apple cores because the little creatures would like it and they would rot down anyway. And of course, the policeman, quite rightly in a way, said, well, sir, one thing leads to another. So that's always been our family saying. And that's what's happened with me about my washing machine head, my thoughts about wool. So I'm going to have a chat with you about wool. I'm going to show you what's on my crafting table, read you a little bit more of my story. Oh, I cook a cake, Nigella, one of her recipes. I do make a big blunder, but I keep the blunder in, and it turned out to be quite good, so don't worry about that. And what else? Oh yeah, my daughter Kim, I always say my daughter when it is really our daughter, but our daughter Kim has sent me a few little videos through and said, Mum, can you edit them and put them on YouTube just for her, just for the family, just to keep. And one of them, I just can't resist showing you. It's last time I showed you George, who's 2 on the 6th. Well, in 3 days. George is 2 in 3 days. And last time I showed you, and he was singing his song. You know how he stands on the table and does it. He loves singing. Well, this little video is from beginning of last November. And boy, can I see a difference in him. 3 months. Anyway, he's in his high chair having lunch with his nanny. And we've always, as family, sung. And she starts singing to him. We've all done it. We all do it. Nursery rhymes. And no, he's a modern boy. No, Nanny, no. Oh, this one? No. This one? No. He wants it sung by, the internet Echo. Her lady is called Echo. And he just loves Echo singing to him. So there's a little film of them singing with Echo. So that's it really for this episode. So welcome. Let me start off with my little chat about wool. One thing has led to another. I started out reading an old Rowan book. This is number 52 and 2012. Yeah. So there we are. As you know, I've been knitting since I was a little girl, and wool has changed so much. I didn't realise, I didn't understand, but I do now. And this all started with this love wool. And of course I do love wool. You know, my friends and I, we used to get the fleeces from the farmers, we'd spin, we'd knit our garments. Wool was wool. Do I sound old fashioned? That's what it was in those days. It was wool, it was woolly. And I like what it says here. Wool is produced from the fleece of a sheep or lamb. Other types of wool include camel wool, mohair from the Angora goat, alpaca wool from the alpaca, cashmere from the cashmere goat, and angora from the Angora rabbit. Each of these fibers will be covered in subsequent features. And, you know, the later books I've got, they all do cover that. And actually, Washing Machine Head, I have uncovered quite a lot about the cashmere goat. And so that's really got me thinking. But I'm not going to talk about that for the minute. It says today there are about 1 billion sheep worldwide, divided into more than 200 breeds, 60 of which are British breeds. The largest producing regions of wool are in Australia, New Zealand, and South America. And actually, Australia wanted to build up its country, you know, wanted to make, yeah, what do you call it? You know, the money. And that's how they did it with sheep. And when you learn about wool, you can see why it's such a miracle fiber. Wool has natural UV protection. It's fantastic, isn't it? Is naturally flame retardant due to its high water and nitrogen content and will only ignite at temperatures above 600 degrees centigrade. That's why the wool could be shipped from Australia to other countries because they didn't have to worry about it catching fire. They didn't have to also worry about it going moldy because it has properties that stop it from doing that. Biodegradable. Now, this is the bit that's got me. Wool will decompose over time and therefore does not contribute to the world's landfill problems. Breathable. Wool keeps you cool when hot and warm when cold. Well, Pete says, I didn't realize that. I put my woolies away when I'm, you know, when it's in the summer, but pure wool will keep you cool because it has this breathable quality to it. The natural structure allows the wool fiber to absorb and release moisture and regulate the body temperature. Isn't that fantastic? Easy care. Wool is self-cleaning and does not smell. Due to its structure, wool can be treated with a finish to make it machine washable and even tumble dryable. That's the bit I now don't like, because that changes everything about wool. Creatine found in wool naturally breaks down bad smelling bacteria present on the skin. It breaks it down. And people have said to me, you know, because I've said, oh, I knitted this in, you know, 2010, or I knitted it years and years ago. How come you've still got it? Well, because it's natural wool and you can just hang it on the line outside. It's breathable. Those smells break down. Yeah, it can do it all on its own. That's what it's designed to do. But of course, man has changed things. I'll talk about that in a minute. It says it's a natural insulator. Wool can insulate the home, providing and retaining warmth and reducing energy costs. Yeah, people do their lofts with it, don't they? A wool fiber can be bent 20,000 times without breaking and still retain the power to recover, reducing the need to replace garments. So you put it on, you know, I don't need to iron it. You put it on, it bends, but it goes back to its natural shape. How marvelous. Sustainable. Every year, a sheep produces another new fleece, making wool the ultimate renewable fibre. 32 million sheep in Britain. Yeah. I was watching a program about St Kilda yesterday, and the sheep there are wild, and they just shed their coats. They don't need to be sheared. And I think it's because we shear them every year that they need to be sheared. That's how they're bred now. But a natural wild sheep would just, shed its fleece naturally. And I love the fact that sheep know the shepherd's voice. Um, in Bible times, I was reading a book last week, and all the shepherds kept their sheep in one huge pen, and one would look after the lot. And then in the mornings, the shepherds would come, each have a different call, and each of the sheep knew the shepherd's call, and off they go down different paths to graze for the day. I just love sheep. However, what I found out is that wool has got, which is why it doesn't crease, and it's got all these properties of being breathable and waterproof, and it is. I knit a beautiful Icelandic jumper and go out in a shower, and he doesn't get wet, and it sheds that. It's just marvelous. Anyway, you can tell I like wool, can't you? But what man has done has the reason all of this is like that on the wool is because it's got these cones around the wool. And that makes it, the wool to be able to run off and all of that. And so they've also thought, well, women now, they like to wash their woolies in the washing machine. Well, you can't do that with these cones like that because it might felt. And so what they do is they strip it with chlorine. I've read a lot about it. I mean, China, that it's the most toxic water, and they just release it out there. I've read that in Britain, where it's done with EU regulations now, it's becoming much better, and that water has to be refined and refined and refined. It's not just let out into the streams. However, it is a very harsh process because it evens out that wool, and it loses all those properties then of being waterproof, of being, windproof, of being warm in the winter and cool in the summer. And then what they do is they coat it. They coat it with a plastic. I've read that in Britain, the plastic now is getting better, and it's becoming more more, what's the word? You know what I mean? Biodegradable. But I think you've got to have a very ethical company that does that. In other words, the wool has been completely changed to all that wonderful quality that the natural sheep has. Now, the reason this all started, one thing led to another, is because Pete came out of hospital, as you know, with, he couldn't walk and bad legs and all of that. And I saw a little article that this pure wool is super against the skin for helping with arthritis and swelling. And here I am thinking, well, Pete, where's my hand knitted socks? But of course, I found out that it's all superwash. It's about choice. It's about knowing about it, isn't it? But then, of course, there's nylon. And nylon is completely non-biodegradable. Even if they break it down into the smallest of particles, it goes in the oceans. The fish swallow it. And then, of course, we eat the fish. And that's why we're eating plastics now. So nylon is not biodegradable. And so, of course, from now on, I will be buying nothing that has nylon in it. And the socks that I've knitted with nylon-free wool and non-superwash are beautiful. And absolutely fine. But I think it's good to have the knowledge and then to be able to make the choice. So there we are. That's my hello. A little bit different again this week. So shall we go over to, me making a cake yesterday morning and popping over to see my friend Heather. Morning. I'm going round my friend Heather's and I'm just going to pop round and see. I haven't seen her for ages. She's been busy with this and that. And Heather is the friend who, does craft stalls and makes all the mice and elephants and goodness knows what. And anyway, I'm popping round to see her and I want to take her piece of cake. So I'm going to make I've made one already this week because I've been to see my daughter Kim because the weather was lovely the day before yesterday. No, not the day before yesterday. Anyway, one day this week, it was gorgeous, as it is today, but our pond is frozen over. It's the 2nd of February today, and pond's frozen over. And anyway, I'm going to make Nigella's, I forget what she calls it now, but it is gluten-free, but it doesn't mean to say we use any flour. That's why it's gluten-free. And it's like a squidgy chocolate. I think it's called... I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, I'll show you how to make it. And if you like the flavour of almonds, then this is for you. So I'll tilt the camera down and you can see what I'm doing. What am I going to put in the bowl? 125 grams of caster sugar. Okay. This is quite rich, and so you don't need to eat a whole lot, and it freezes beautifully. As you know, I make them and then freeze them in small slices, and we have them after dinner. There's 125 grams of sugar. Can you see that? There. 125. Now in with that, I have to put 4 large eggs. 1, 3. Oh, the squirrels are all here. There we go. 4 eggs, 125 grams of sugar. Now I'm going to whisk this up, and in my machine, I mean, you can do it by hand, of course, but in my machine, it takes about 5 minutes. So I'll just pop that on. So while that's mixing, I've got 100 grams of butter and 100 grams of dark chocolate. I think it has to be minimum 70%, solids. And I'm going to put that in the bowl on the gas. But don't let that bowl touch the water, otherwise it'll all burn, So I'm just going to melt that while the other one's mixing. 2 things together. Then I need 2 tablespoons of cocoa. I use the green and blacks because it's pucker chocolate, So 2 tablespoons of that. And 75 grams of almonds. Then you fork that together. There we are, that's making the sort of ribbon, that like they say. Can you see? That's just the eggs and the sugar. And I'm going to plop that in. You can do it when the mixer's running, but I'm just showing you here. And just fold it in. Because there's so much air in that, we want to keep the air in. So don't plop it all in at once. I saw Nigella making this on her series, on telly. It just looks so nice, and I've made it so many times now. In fact, my daughter and son-in-law went out for a meal a couple of weeks ago. We had to take the car for service and had a little, pub lunch after. Came back for a cup of tea, and while I was making the tea, I quickly did this because, it really doesn't take long, and it takes 20 minutes to cook. And so I had popped the oven on as soon as I got in. 20 minutes, well, say 10 minutes to make it, 20 minutes in the oven. And honestly, by the time we sat down to have our tea and coffee, we had a nice piece of cake to eat with it. That's the honest truth. And that's how quick it is to make this. So make sure all of that is nicely stirred in. Get little pockets of that. And you want to keep as much air in as you can. The almond liqueur. What does she say? How many? 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3. So although the bottle is an outlay, well, you could do a miniature, but it lasts a lot of cakes. So just stir that. Oh, it smells gorgeous, like marzipan. There we are. I'm going to pop that in the tin. And this cake is supposed to sink and all that, so we don't worry about the sinkage. That's what it's supposed to do, she says. So no worry there. There we are. I'm going to pop that in my oven for 20 minutes on 160. In the meantime, I'm going to whisk 250 ml. Oh, I can't open it. I just asked Pete. Yeah, he's done it. I use the lacto-free, but I mean any double cream, because we're going to whisk that up now with what? With 1 tablespoon of the amaretto, So I'm just going to pop that in my bowl. So whilst that's cooking for 20 minutes, I'm going to whisk this up, and then we're all done. Then I'm off to see Heather. Pond's still frozen. I'm hoping it's going to thaw out before I have to go round. I'll show you the cream when I've whisked it. There we are, all whisked. And I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of the not almond essence, the almond liqueur. While we're waiting, I'll show you the view. Always the squirrel and the sun shining, but the pond frozen. We could just do with it being a little bit warmer. So I'm making another one because I made a big mistake there. I thought I'd tell you about the mistake whilst I'm just putting in my chocolate, folding in my chocolate the same as I did, the cocoa and the almonds, just folding it in as I did just now. But with the other one, of course, I walked over to the stove and I hadn't put the chocolate and the butter in, I'd melted it. And so the sponge that's in, the cake that's in, hasn't got butter or the chocolate in. So it'll be interesting to see the difference, won't it? There's another one. Good job I had the eggs. So here's my other one. It looks a little bit well done, but it's fine, look. Nice and soft and squidgy. Look, here's the one without the butter and the chocolate. So I'm going to ask Pete to do a taste test. He'll like that. I'll put a little bit of cream on it. So here's the one with, it cracks, you see. Now this has delayed me a bit. But on the other hand, I'm quite pleased to have done it. So here I am around Heather's. Just look. She's making all these little matchbox mouses, and they're absolutely gorgeous. She's made a mouse for me, and of course I bought a pair of shoes for her. So she's not dressed. I'm going to dress her. But isn't she cute in her shoes? Oh, hello! She's Maisie Mark too. Well, she might have another name, I'll see. But I love the shoes. Yeah, they look good. But they took a little bit of pricing in, didn't they, Heath?
It's a bit like Cinderella and the other sisters.
Cinderella.
We kind of had to squash her feet in. But, you know, she's going to get the ball gown to go with it.
She's all right, isn't she? So how much are your mice?
25.
25 for the box and everything made, patchwork and all of that. Is it all right if I show this one?
Yeah.
Okay, his name's Finn.
Well, I nominate the memory bears, don't I? And this lady asked me to. She said, "Did I do anything with children's clothes?" And I said, "Yes, I could make a bear or whatever." She said, "Well, I really like your mice. Is there any way that you could use the baby's first size clothes to make a mouse and a box?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll give it a go." So I had 4 items of clothing from newborn, which is was no bigger than about that. So that was good fun to play with. So baby Finn has a mouse. He now has his quilt. He has his dungarees made from one of the favourite first baby outfits that he had.
Lovely. Lovely memory then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, for him to have when he grows up.
That's what my mum said, yeah.
Yes.
So he's got to have his bear.
Yeah.
Then we used the back of the t-shirt, and then we used to make pillows.
So that's all his clothes.
And then my friend Jo made the box and put that lovely background in it.
Oh, how lovely.
And that's his mattress, which is just
And
a bit
his
of linen.
mattress.
Just a bit of linen.
Yeah. How lovely is that?
So, and then
what a lovely keepsake.
That's what his mum wanted. So there he is in his bed with his sheet and his duvet.
Oh yes, because it's got jewels on it. Yes.
Yeah, it was a Jules little, and that's another bit that I didn't want to waste, so I put that on
all
hand quilted. Couldn't help myself. There you go.
Oh, and his ears match his pillow.
Yeah, his ears were from another little bit left of the t-shirt.
Yeah. Well, good night, Finn. Right, we're going to have a chinwag now, so
Yeah.
say cheerio.
Bye.
Well, I'm back from visiting Heather, and Peter's cooked me potatoes, peas, courgettes, parsnips. I've got a lamb chop and cauliflower with some cheese on that's just melted. Looks delicious. There's always a pea in our house that escapes the plate. And the plate, by the way, my mum bought me for my 21st. I think my set of plates, cups and saucers have lasted me well. Anyway, I'm off to eat my lunch and then we're going to taste test the chocolate cake. Okay, so one is without butter and chocolate and the other one is. So
what's this one?
you start to eat and see what you think. Okay.
Well, both very nice.
Yeah, well, there we are. Both very nice. So here's the 2 cakes. The one in the front has got the chocolate in it and the butter, and the one on the back hasn't. You can see they're both squidgy. So I think that one is beautiful for, something special. And that one is lovely. Just, if you want a lighter cake, but it's still a squidgy chocolate. Well, it was quite a good mistake to make because now I've got a dairy-free and flourless cake, which is delicious and lovely with the cream. But if you're non-dairy, then you would use a non-dairy cream, obviously. But we did prefer the one with the butter and the chocolate in it. It's so rich. It's so yummy. And Lois, my granddaughter, and Nicola, my daughter, and Tommy is coming round for cup of tea this afternoon. So I'm glad I've got plenty of cake. So, here, I wanted to show you. These are Pete's socks from Emma of Woolly Mammoth. These are nylon free, knitted on a 2 needle. They're woolly, aren't they? They're lovely. Pete says they're absolutely lovely to wear. They're not itchy, they're just lovely. Choices, eh? Don't we all love choices? Anyway, what's next? Let's pop over to the craft table. I'm at my crafting table to show you what I've made this week. So I'm on my second sock. I know some people have second sock syndrome. I never have it. I have the opposite. If I've done one sock, I can't wait to finish the other sock. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing knitting wise. And then after a while, I can feel the nerve in my hand. So I stop knitting. As soon as I feel it, I stop. And I go on to a little bit of sewing. It's a different movement and I'm absolutely fine then. So if I alternate, that's good for me. I can't sit and knit for hours, and I can't sit and sew for hours. Anyway, I've done a bit more of my quilt. Sitting round the fire with Pete still. So I've put the corners on. We didn't have that corner piece on. I'll talk to you about that corner piece in a tick. So I've got the 4 corner pieces. And then I put a border around, right the way round, on all 4 sides. Now, some of you have asked me, where did I get the pattern? I got the kit from the cotton patch. As you know, I don't often do kits, but I thought with all the fabric being, just the right amounts, it would be worth it because I wanted to do a William Morris kit. However, the lady does sell the pattern on its own. She's in America. I have had 2 problems with the pattern. She tells you to use this colour fabric instead of this. So of course I made 4 of those without realizing, cutting it out and sewing it together. And she also doesn't allow for the seam allowance on those 2 there. It is machine, and of course, and I cut it differently to what she says, but if you were going to machine it, she says cut one of these in half, but then you haven't got a seam allowance. So that's double Dutch if you don't do quilting, but if you do quilting and did purchase the pattern, just make that is a different to what she says. And also you can't just cut one of these in half because you haven't got the seam allowance. So there was quite a lot of jiggery pokery had to be done to put this right. But there you are, it's done. So doing well with that quilt. I really enjoyed making it. Was annoyed about a couple of mistakes, but there we are. Put it right. You have to have patience, don't you, for taking the bit out and putting it right. Anyway, done it. I'm going to put up, what's next? Oh, George doing his little sing-song with Echo. Hope you enjoy that.
Shall we sing a song? What song? What about Rockabye Baby? Shall we sing Rockabye Baby? No. Echo, sing us a nursery rhyme. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Clever boy. Shall I ask Hurst to sing another song? Echo, sing us a nursery rhyme.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
Poor Humpty Dumpty. So Nanny asked Echo to play another song. Okay. Echo, sing us a nursery rhyme.
Baa, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes, sir, yes, sir, 3 bags full.
One for the master, one for the dame.
And one for the little boy who lives down the lane.
Rockabye Baby? Echo, sing Rockabye Baby.
Rock-a-bye baby on the treetops. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When
That's
the bell
it.
rings, the cradle
Well
will
done.
and down.
Humpty Dumpty. Oh, I don't know that one. Oh! Are you a cheeky boy? Oh! Are you a cheeky boy? Oh! No spitting. No, you are naughty. Oh, sing Hickory Dickory Dock.
I don't know that song, but I can belt out another one from my repertoire. Just say, sing me a song.
We want Hickory Dickory Dock. We don't want her to belt out another song from her repertoire. We don't. No.
So let's carry on with the story. I don't know if I've got all the facts right, about the world as it was then, but I think it's how I remember it. I say the world was quite a scary place in 1960, as the superpowers America and Russia were building up stocks of nuclear weapons. John F. Kennedy became the youngest ever American president, and in October 1962, he was faced with an international crisis, one I went through with him. American spy planes discovered that Russia was sending missiles to the island of Cuba. Kennedy threatened to invade Cuba unless Russia withdrew the missiles, and the world held its breath. Thankfully, after a week of talks, the Russians backed down and withdrew their missiles, but together with my classmates, we faced our destruction in the playground. I remember thinking I didn't want to go to school and Dad should stay at home because if we were going to be killed, we should all be together. There was a war brewing in Vietnam, and throughout the 1960s, the United States became more and more involved. Young people held anti-war demonstrations, but it didn't do any good. It just got worse and worse. They say that everyone can remember where they were when they heard the shocking news of President Kennedy's assassination on the 22nd of November, 1963. I do, but I didn't realize the importance of the day at the time. I remember just, prancing about in the sitting room. Dad saw it on the telly and said, oh my goodness, he was completely in shock. And I just thought, who cares? Young people, eh? Well, maybe not young people, but me. I just didn't realize what that meant or what had happened. Dad told me not to be rude, and Willie told me off. So yeah, that's why I think it sticks in my memory, because it was just a childish thing that I just said, oh, who cares? Well, I was made to care. I was made to understand. The Russian Yuri Gagarin became the first man in space on the 12th of April, 1961. And in August of the same year, Everyone was horrified as the Berlin Wall went up, dividing communist East and democratic West Berlin. London had a huge ban the bomb demonstration in the September, which Anne kept me informed about. And of course, the Beatles released their first hit single, Love Me Do, and I joined all the other fans in Beatlemania. Mum was always there when I came home, either pottering about, doing household chores, cooking, or maybe doing the wages for Dad. Yeah, because Dad had his own business then, and so Mum did all the wages and sorted everything out. I just always remember her sitting round the kitchen table. At school, my first class was with Miss Morris. She helped me to settle in, and I gradually became familiar with the other teachers in the school. They were women of another age. Most of them were fairly old, wore pleated skirts, twin sets, and were bossy. A couple were to have been married but lost their fiancés in the First World War, and we always felt so sorry for them. These women were good teachers and had given their lives to helping the girls at Palmer's Green High. But the aim was to groom us to pass exams and to get us into university. Along the way, they drummed into us that if we didn't do better, we'd never succeed. I believed their every word, and so in my mind, I never thought I'd be good enough to pass exams, let alone get a university place. I was usually away from end-of-term exams with some illness or another. I just couldn't face failure. I found school difficult, really. I was a trusting, naive, ordinary 11-year-old. The TV of today and explicit films were not around to educate me, and children, I think, were very much children then. During the first English literature lesson, we were given a list of books to read before the end of term. I think we had to choose 6. We were asked to write a synopsis of each one, which my classmates told me nobody ever did. They told me that we asked the girls who had just moved up to lend us their notes and copy them out. I remember the feeling at the end of term when we were asked questions on the books and wishing I'd actually read them. Because, of course, I followed the girls. Well, some of the girls, I'm sure not all of them, but, I was given this advice and, well, I didn't want to stand out as being a goody-goody and reading the books. Anyway, that's what I put here. I remember the feeling at the end of term when we were asked questions on the books and wishing I'd actually read them. However, that would have been too goody-goody. Far better to go along with the others and cheat. And cheat. That's not nice, is it? I felt ashamed, really. And I don't think I ever did it again. I just remember that being my first week at my new school, and I went along with it. Anyway, I loved the elocution lessons we had after school. I took my exams, and the examiner wrote very promising on one of my pass certificates. I passed grade 5 in the spring of 1963. I always knew I should have been an actress. I have such a vivid imagination. My speaking voice improved, and I joined the others in correct pronunciation and clear vowel sounds. These have now all been lost, I'm afraid. I have a real London twang. For me, it's who I mix with that I sound like. 2 weeks in Scotland, and I'm speaking like them. I've got a few of my bits here. I'll show you. My particular friend at school became the ballet mistress of Sadler's Wells Royal Ballet. And this is how I know, because I went to see her in 1990 doing a production of, what was she doing a production of? Oh, all different La Female Garde, lovely. Oh, little different bits, Flowers of the Forest, 2 Scottish ballets. It was absolutely lovely. Anyway, I remember it. But she wrote on my, what do you call it, program, to Dear Penny, the trendy one, with much love, Marion. There she is. I later took my 2 granddaughters, who of course now are grown with children of their own, but when they were young, I took them to see her at Sadler's Wells, and she did Cinderella, and it was we went back behind the scenes and looked at all her shoot, everything, all the costumes. It was really special. But I remember sitting in one of the classes, and we were sitting at the back and chatting. And I said to her, you know, what do you want to do when you leave school? She said, be a ballerina. And I just thought, are you nuts? A ballerina? Nobody becomes a ballerina. Well, of course she did. She knew she would. So that's lovely. What else have I got? Oh, I've got a letter here from my brother. Dear Penny, I would, spelt WOOD, I would like it if you lent me 7 shillings and 6pence for the treasure binder. I'll pay you back, Chris. Many thanks, MENNY. I think he was quite small. But I think he collected, you know how they do these, you know, brochure things, and he wanted the binders for it. So that was amongst it. 1956. Mum, I was so pleased Mum saved this for me. Arithmetic fairly good, spelling very good, English good, reading very good, writing good. Penelope has not made such good progress this term. She is too hesitant, although she's very willing, but has seemed a little weary. 1956. 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. April, I was 6, and I seemed a little weary. That's when my brother was born. He was born in the January, so he was probably crying all night, and that's why I was a little bit weary. I've got one of my school books, and I did all about the Egyptians and the holy city of Jerusalem. Well, I wish I'd kept more. I just, you know how I did. I let go of a lot of things because I thought I can't keep that. But of course, it doesn't take up much room, and you can keep things that are irreplaceable. And then I come to Palmer's Green High, and July the 18th, 1961. So I'd been there a year. Yeah. So this is the end of my first year. English language, satisfactory progress. English literature, fair, not sufficiently attentive. You see, here I go with that English literature. Little did I know that I would come to love it. Scripture needs more concentration. Yeah, good on the whole, good on the whole. Writing, a very pleasing style. Dictation, satisfactory. Nature study, work shows definite improvement. Arithmetic. You see my exam, very disappointing result, but terms work of a high standard. Just couldn't do exams. French, good. Art, fair. Handwork, good. Singing, fairly good. Games, good progress. Physical education, good. Elocution, good. Oral expression. Penelope has made satisfactory progress this term, although she does not do herself justice in the examinations. I will be promoted to the next class, so that's good. Yes, I've got one here. Elocution, first class acting ability. It's interesting, isn't it? I never realised. We just did. I just did it. Nobody helped us. We didn't have career people I just went to school and that was that. And that's the end for another week. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you when I see you. Probably a couple of weeks. I don't know. You know, I always say that, don't I? I'll see you when I see you. That's what we used to say. See you when I see you. And so take care, all of you. And my little film is about, well, Pete and I going shopping. That's what we do. We shop locally. We've got a butcher's in town. We've got greengrocers in town. If we want milk or eggs or something, you know, we've got a little co-op and we've got a little Iceland, only small stores. I've got a wool shop and I've got a little or haberdashery, if you like. So yes, when we do our walk into town, along the sea, up past Bleak House, which is where Dickens wrote the book, you know, started to write the book, and we've got anyway. I'm just going to show you the film. I'll talk more about the places another time. See you soon. Bye-bye.